Welcome to the video, everyone. I'm that Jiu Jitsu guy. My goal is to make your Jiu Jitsu as good as possible, and sometimes I get to talk to famous people who also want to make your Jiu Jitsu better, and that's what's going to happen today because BMac is here, and I'm going to talk to him about all things Jiu Jitsu. He is an Eddie Bravo black belt. He's done commentary for ADCC, EBI, Medusa, and more. Plus, if I'm the type of person you like to follow on Instagram, there's a good chance you're following him too. Today, I get to talk to Brandon Mccaghren, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. BMac. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Are we there? Can you hear us?
I got you. I think we're good. This is like the least tech issues I've ever had after years and years of doing these interviews over Zoom. So I think we're off to a good start.
All right. I got a good mastermind behind me with Keelan over here.
The one thing I always ask people when I talk to them, especially people that I'm a fan of that, have been doing jujitsu longer than I've even known what jujitsu is, but just how did you get started in the sport?
Well, I got started because my wife sat me down on the couch one day and she said, "Hey, I don't want to die. I don't want you to die 20 years before I do. So you got to get in shape. I'm signing us up for martial arts class." And so we started together. And for me, it was in the beginning, it was just strictly about um, being a more healthy person.
I mean, that's a pretty good reason to, stay alive and not die.
Yeah, I'm a second degree black belt. She's got a stripe on her black belt now. So yeah,
Nice, nice.
training together since day one.
Does it get contentious at home? You hit her with a sweep and she comes home and she's mad, or you're not doing chores and she throws a choke on.
The problem with that is I don't hit her with a sweep anymore. Like it would be contentious if I was in contention, but I'm just not anymore. I mean, I just hate to admit it, but the truth is she's just significantly better than I am.
You're obviously a 10th Planet guy. You've been under Eddie for a long time. Have you seen more of an influx of guys who started at schools that weren't 10th Planet schools that have made their way into the 10th Planet system? Because I feel like more and more and more I'm seeing guys like Mason Fowler playing rubber guard. I'm seeing more non-10th Planet guys playing that system. Is that something you've seen?
I wouldn't even say I've seen more of it. I just think like a higher percentage. I wouldn't say it's just as more people do jujitsu, I think you're gonna have more people who are homies with this guy at this academy and this guy. And so, like you brought up Mason Fowler, for instance, he's trained with all those 10th Planet San Francisco area guys. They've kind of come up the scene together. So they've all been friends and training together, even unofficially for years and years. And yeah, I think when somebody like Mason Fowler does get onto a stage at the black belt level and use 10th Planet esque techniques and have some success with them, I do think that that's good for sure for people to see that, well, listen, man, this stuff does actually work. It's just most likely if it's not working for you, you just haven't put in the reps. Arm bars didn't work for you in the beginning either. Like taking the back, that didn't work for you in the beginning either. You couldn't even bridge out of the bottom of a mount. So yeah, I'm happy to see that there's more 10th Planet. It's not like we're not the black sheep of the jiu-jitsu community as much as we used to be. Maybe
Yeah,
we
right,
are,
right, right.
but it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like there's as much like vitriol in conversation as there used to be. At least yeah, at least we can get a slap bump after the argument.
It's not so much 10th Planet versus the world anymore. It's maybe 10th Planet is getting along with the world.
I feel like we always got along with the world, but maybe the world didn't get along with us so much.
It was the world's
It
problem.
definitely feels like we have friends in the jujitsu community. Didn't always.
Listen, I'm a fan. I've never trained at a 10th Planet school, which I want to talk to you about in a minute, but I try to incorporate, the twister is my absolute most favorite submission in the world to put on white belts and blue belts because it just shows them, this is what's up.
I'm in
Uh
charge.
yeah, yeah. You get a good white belt or blue belt who's got their arm bars down, they got their triangle chokes down, and you hit them with a twister and they've never seen it before and it blows their mind and you feel like a superhero. But I'm a guy who I like to try to play a lot of rubber guard. I would not say that I'm very good at it. When you look at guys who aren't training at 10th Planet schools, Can you tell by looking at the way they're playing rubber guard? Oh, that guy doesn't train at a 10th planet school. That guy's just trying to do rubber guard.
No, not always, because I definitely see some guys who do train at 10th Planet schools who don't do it very well either. But I also see guys who don't train at a 10th Planet school who have phenomenal rubber guard. So I think the information, not just for the 10th Planet style things like rubber guard or lockdown or truck, but for everything, including like the old fundamental base, like all the information is out there. And so I think people are taking charge of their own learning, more than ever in the jujitsu community. And I think that's a positive thing. And I think that the more that we open ourselves to possibilities and don't close ourselves off to this because it's not the way it was always done, the better.
Well, I think, that YouTube plaque that's right behind you in the background, I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
is a huge part about
Right.
what has pushed this sport forward. There it is. I'm trying to get mine, so hopefully you can get me a lot of clicks so I can get my numbers up.
Right.
Um, if you know anyone at YouTube, put in a call, let
I
them know that I
don't. I
deserve
don't.
a plaque. But I think that's such a big part of what's pushed jujitsu is, if I wanted to learn rubber guard 15 years ago, I had to come to you, but now you've got videos on YouTube that it's like I'm learning right from you on my computer, and I can take that to the mat and work on it. So I feel like the YouTube game and the availability of instructionals has just like launched us so far forward.
Yeah, and I hear people complain like that there's too much of that now, that the kind of the it's oversaturated, or oh man, it's just a bunch of flashy stuff on Instagram that would never work. But who cares if it's flashy and it would never work? If you see somebody and they move in a way that like sparks your interest or sparks your creativity, I think that's probably a good thing for you to just grab the inspiration and get out onto the mat and create, or to get out onto the mat and completely fail. That's an education too. Like I think that's good. You need that.
And I think there's a lot more stuff that does work on Instagram and YouTube than stuff that doesn't work on Instagram and YouTube. So even if 2 out of 10 techniques are garbage techniques, you're still getting 8 solid techniques out of 10 that are going to work. So I'll take the good with the bad.
Yeah, and this whole idea of this conversation of what works on, well, that would never work on a good person. Dude, nothing works on good people. That's why they're good.
Right.
Like
Right.
nothing works on them. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't and by the way, I'm never gonna have to find myself dealing with somebody who's that good because I don't even compete anymore. I'm just walking in the gym with my friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just am trying not to get hurt every night. That's my main goal these days. So I just want to go have fun. Can a brother look at Instagram and YouTube without getting harassed about what doesn't work? We're just having a good time out here, man.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people don't realize too is that like 90% of people who do jujitsu are not competing. 90% of people are just rolling for fun and just doing it as a hobby. So not everything needs to be like comp team training and let's kill each other. And, is this going to work? Is it not going to work on the best guy in the world? Because, like you said, you're probably not going to run into the best guy in the world.
Yeah, dude, you're having trouble enough getting the bridge and roll to work on a white belt. Like, don't worry about it. Just get out there and have fun. And I think that is most people's major objective with jujitsu is, you know, help me develop a more healthy lifestyle, have a good time, get some exercise, learn at least the basics of self defense, or maybe learn, from the opposite perspective, learn how much you don't know about self defense, and maybe that interests you to go out and start learning more about some other styles or weapons or whatever it is. But I think that the vast majority of people, just like you said, don't really care about competing. They're just looking for something to get out of the house and do as a fun hobby 3 days a week. And those people really drive the the business model of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so I don't want to say that we should cater and water down the art to deal with those people, but we shouldn't force them to try to take it as seriously as the competitors and the fighters and the people who are like dead serious, only interested in self-defense want to take it. Like that's cool. Luckily, jujitsu is broad enough that it can deal with all of these people.
While we're talking about YouTube, Maybe it's just my perception, but it seems like you've been posting a lot more recently. You're usually good for 3, 4 videos a month, but I've seen it just seems like an uptick where I'm seeing you in my feed more and more and more. Is that something you're making a concentrated effort on, or it's just things are kind of flowing?
Yeah, definitely a concentrated effort. We've kind of, Keelan is my business partner over here, and he's kind of the brains behind all of our media content. Conscious Keelan, make sure you follow him on the gram and whatnot. Um, and we've been putting our heads together and trying to come up with a stronger, like more efficient and effective schedule for the media content, and just really double down on trying to do good content that's like actually helpful to the community. Like we said, a lot of the stuff, it's I don't want to say it's watered down, but there's such a volume of instructional material or people rolling or whatever, and there's not that much of just people sitting down and trying to like actually help everybody in the jujitsu community or bring them like news or whatever. So
Right.
gonna be seeing a lot more of the Brandon sitting down and talking to the camera style videos.
I like these videos. I like these videos just as much as I like the BJJ Battle Royale, which I think is, some of the craziest videos you've ever done, which we'll get into that in a second. But I like the Brandon sitting down and just talking videos. They are just as entertaining to me as watching technique breakdowns.
Yeah, well, they get a good response. So we've been really, really happy with the feedback, both in the analytics and from the engagement with the folks. So very happy about it. Expect to see more. Yes.
Now for the BJJ Battle Royale, I know part two just came out a few months ago. Is there a part three coming? And how does one sign up to be a member of the BJJ Battle Royale?
Well, you see, we let the Dow bring the battle royale to us when it calls for it. Just whenever we start feeling like it's time, we hadn't had enough chaos and madness in our lives. That's when the battle royale comes out. But no, we don't have one on the schedule. But we'll definitely do another one. But it's just a Google form. Like when we get ready to do the next one, I'll post it on my Instagram. So
Back in October, you had the finish to the PGF. Is there another season of that coming?
yeah, we just had the very first preseason qualifier. It was just this past Saturday down in Wetumpka, Alabama. That's a real place. Can you believe that?
I'll take your word for it.
Wetumpka. Ridiculous. But they call it Wetumpka. That is how they say it. Or Wetumpka. I hear people say Wetumpka sometimes, but we don't listen to people who say stuff like that. Yeah, we just had the first qualifier down there this past weekend, and Handsome Kevin won the qualifier. We'll have video posting up later this week that have the actual matches and kind of what went down. But Handsome Kevin Sherrill is the qualifier winner. He'll be returning once again to the PGF stage, and he's the handsome weight world title holder.
Yeah, how did that get started? What was the inspiration behind starting the PGF?
Well, the inspiration behind it was as the pandemic got started, there was no competitions. Like our guys kind of like lost that. And man, I didn't know. None of us at the time knew, like, are we ever going to have jujitsu competitions again? So what we did is we tried to put together like, for what at that time was like a reasonably safe way for them to jump out there and continue competing. And the real inspiration behind it though, because I've been kind of toying with this idea, and then the pandemic stuff was what sort of the catalyst to actually try it locally. But the catalyst for it, or the original idea, was that during wrestling season, like you get so many matches, bang, 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 bang during a wrestling season, and you go this week and this week and this week, and you're just getting these reps over and over, and you learn to compete that way. Like there's the skill of being a grappler, but there's also the skill of being a competitor. And those are two separate skill sets. And with jujitsu competitions just coming up, and, we live in a small place, man. So having a jujitsu competition come around, you're talking about making a 3-hour drive just to try to jump in somewhere, usually. You know what I mean? And so that's a big expense. You got to go stay overnight. And so you end up, even if you're a regularly active competitor around here, you only get to jump out there every 2 or 3 months. You know what I'm saying? You don't build that consistency. And so we wanted to have something where they could come back and compete week after week after week after week. And we're like, man, this might be the opportunity to do that while there are no competitions going on. We can kind of get people to sign on and try it. And that was how season 1 went down. And then we just continued to try to evolve it every season. We're super excited, man. We'll be working with Subversive this year. Subversive, one of the coolest jiu-jitsu promotions out there. Super, super cool promotion. And they're putting a lot of confidence and effort, we'll say, behind the PGF this year for season 5. It starts October 29th, and I'm super stoked about it. 185-pound men, 125-pound women. Everybody gets 15 matches over the course of a week. It's crazy, man. The PGF's my favorite.
How many more qualifiers are you doing before the thing in October?
So we definitely have Decatur, Alabama qualifier on May the 13th. We're going to which one's which? We're going to Jacksonville, Florida on August 12th. And we're going to Nashville, Tennessee on August 26th. And then on September 24th, we're going to be doing a qualifier in downtown Los Angeles also. We're
Oh, nice.
definitely going to add at least one more qualifier to the schedule, but we don't have that date. But that'll be Huntsville, Alabama when we do add the date.
And the qualifiers, anyone can come and register and sign up, right? It's not like invite only, it's open to everyone.
Right. The qualifiers are open. It's 119 is what we do to register, but nobody gets into the seat. We only pick people who participated in the qualifiers to be part of the roster for the season. Okay. So, and everybody that comes onto the roster gets a check, whether you finish, it doesn't matter where you finish, you get paid to start your week. You know what I mean? So we pay everybody that wants to come and be a part of it, but we pick the roster entirely from the qualifier. So if you win, like Handsome Kevin, he won the qualifier on Saturday, and so he gets an automatic spot, right? But there'll only be 6, maybe 7 automatic bids, and we're going to fill out the rest of the 20-man roster from the people who participate in the qualifiers. And we're looking for the most exciting people under 185 pounds. Not necessarily the best. We want the most fun and people who will be cool to hang out with for a whole week because we're going to be around each other a lot.
Well, I think that's like, you just kind of touched on it. One of the things with like ADCC, and I want to talk to you about like commentary and all that stuff too, but like ADCC doing, invites and whatever. And the idea at ADCC is obviously you want the best guys in the world versus the best guys in the world, but that doesn't always mean the most exciting. So as like a viewer, sometimes I'd rather watch a more exciting match than just it happens to be the 2 best guys in the world, right? Like,
dude, I want to see people get dunked on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't remember the basketball game in the Olympics where Vince Carter jumped over that 7-foot French dude and dunked, did the splits over his head. I don't remember how the game went, but I've seen that clip a billion times. I want to see people getting dunked on, people getting trashed. Like, we want highlights. We want highlights. We need highlights. And there needs to be good, of course, full game content. We're going to enjoy watching the whole game. You can't build up suspense without the whole game. But man, the dunks are what excited, So a lot of times you got to have a little bit of a mismatch to create that. And you create the mismatch, this top-rated guy versus this kind of up-and-coming guy. Top-rated guy's supposed to dunk on him, but up-and-coming guy gets the dunk instead. Oh my God. That's
big drama show. That's big drama show. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but the mismatch gets you the upset. That's the only way to do it.
If you want the purity of the sport, I mean, matching up the best guys versus the best guys, like that's always going to lead to super, super close matches. And that's beautiful too. And I want to watch that. I love to watch that. But I'm also somebody who's like a super ultra dork about jiu-jitsu. And I know not everybody wants to see that, but nobody doesn't like dunks.
When you're doing commentary, because I think so many people know you from doing commentary, and you've done commentary for every type of event that there seems to be under the sun. Is there a type of event that really stands out to you as being the most fun to call? Like, is EBI more fun than combat jiu-jitsu or vice versa?
Well, the most fun thing ever was ADCC this last year. It doesn't really have anything to do with the rule set. It was just like the gravity and the grandeur of the situation was just off the charts. The energy, you're putting, what was it, 13, 15,000, something crazy like that, into the Thomas Mack Center in Las Vegas. And it's just going nuts. And then that one specific moment where Rita armbar Cyborg, I'm calling that match, and he makes the move to go to the arm lock, and I just stood up. I was like, ah, when I said whatever dumb thing I said, but I remember I just went like this, and I looked around, and I just was soaking it up, and it felt like 1,000 years passed of me just listening to that crowd erupt. It was just such a surreal moment that I never thought jujitsu was ever going to see a moment like that. And then not only for it to happen, but for me to be on the floor making the call when it happened, it was just like almost overwhelming. It was emotional, dude. It was like watching the end of Hoosiers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jimmy Chitwood goes left-handy to finish that thing. That's what it felt like. But what is my favorite type of event to call? It's combat jujitsu far and away. Like not even close.
Because I feel like anything can happen in a combat jiu-jitsu match. Like, I know that's cliche to say, but like literally anything can happen in a CJJ match.
Yeah. What's one thing that can't happen in a CJJ match? There's really two things. There can't be boring wrestling with guys who are kind of like iffy on the feet. Get down rule. They're on the floor. And the other thing that there can't be in a CJJ match is a judge's decision because it's going to EBI overtime. I love that. I love, I mean, honestly, the crowd response to combat jujitsu when you're there live too is like a totally different reaction than the regular jujitsu match. And I don't quite understand like the apprehension that some folks in the jujitsu community have to combat jujitsu. Like it's too close. Like it's not MMA. We get that. But it's like, is it too close to MMA that you don't like it? It's like too far away from what you pure jujitsu, which it's wild that that's what's called pure jujitsu now is the jujitsu without striking. Whereas in just a few years ago, that would have been like not pure jujitsu.
Right, right, right.
That would have been like sport jujitsu and where it's going. But I don't know. I just know I love the combat jujitsu rule set, and I think anybody that can honestly watch them side by side, especially live, would have the same opinion.
Yeah, I think, if you're gonna have the mindset that like jujitsu is the best martial art for defending yourself or for the most applicable technique to the real world, like combat jujitsu is the biggest test of that. If you can't use your game without avoiding getting slapped in the face, then maybe your game needs improvement in that.
It's the biggest test of that we can do without getting the commission involved.
Right. Right.
That's the thing. Like, you can't have like full on up kicks. Commission doesn't
Right.
work. That was all of these things were intended in the original combat jujitsu rule set. It was meant to be done with gloves. It meant up kicks. All of the things that are legal on the ground in MMA were going to be legal in combat jujitsu. But then the commission starts coming in and going, well, if you want to be able to do it, like you got to chop this off and you got to chop this off. Oh man. Well, dude, at least we still get to smack each other in the mouth.
That's right.
So, I mean, I'm not under any kind of disillusion that it's the same level of gravity as MMA. I love MMA, dude. That's my favorite thing. But I love combat jujitsu too. Just like I love Muay Thai and I love boxing. I like martial arts, dude. And I want to see what it looks like when we get out here and constrain the rules a little bit. Let's just box the rules up a little differently, make this constraint here and this constraint here. And now you're not allowed to kick and you can't grapple. And suddenly you have boxing. Well, you get to learn the best way to throw your hands by putting all those constraints on the thing. And okay, that's cool. Now we'll take that. Let those guys get excellent at throwing their hands. Now, what if we just had a situation where we didn't do any striking on the feet and we just grapple down here until somebody quits? oh, we'll call that jujitsu, and that'll be the best way to grapple for submission, and we'll put that over here. Or what if the main focus was just to take somebody down and control him? Well, let's take that one, and that's wrestling. And all of those different arts start to get refined down to where they're the best at their specialty. And then as you start to open up the rule set, it I don't know, we get to learn brand new things about fighting that particular specialty taught us, and then we'll take what's good and then move on to the next art and take what's good.
That's why boxing still exists as a sport, even though there is MMA. That's why wrestling still exists as a sport, even though there is wrestling in MMA. So I think that having everything all together in MMA is awesome, but like I'm still gonna watch the Ryan Garcia fight against Tank from last Saturday because I like boxing too.
Just that straight left hand.
Like delayed onset liver shot is like one of the coolest things I think in boxing, when a guy feels okay and then he just, no, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, and it just goes down.
And for it to happen in a match with so much on the line too, that was awesome. That was like that was gonna go down as one of the great knockouts ever. But Keelan was saying he don't like it because you know, he felt like Tank was coming down too far, like
Yeah,
where it's not, he shouldn't be allowed to go down that far.
I don't know. I think if he can do it and get away with it,
See, that's what I said. I called Keelan a hater. Would you like to do the same? Go ahead.
I would not like that because he seems to be the tech guy who might cut us off at any second. So I'm gonna let you handle the
All right.
Keelan nonsense.
He said you're a
More or less.
hater.
I'm moving soon, and I'm gonna stay at the school that I'm training at now. But there's two 10th Planet schools within like real close to where I'm moving, so I want to hopefully drop in and do a few classes there. So this will apply and help me directly, but also anyone else in a similar situation. As a person I've done jiu-jitsu for a decade, I've never trained at a 10th Planet school, but I'm gonna go in for my first class at a 10th Planet affiliate. What's something that I should expect that would be different than any school I've been at before? And what's something that should think is going to be the exact same as every other place I've ever trained?
Well, the jujitsu is pretty much going to be exactly the same. It's going to be the same jujitsu you're used to, just there's no gi, right? So the technical differences will be in play somewhat, like the gripping change, the friction change. So if you've never done no gi, you'll have some adaptation you need to make there. But really, you know, good posture is good posture, whether you're wearing a gi or not. You know,
Right.
good fundamentals are good fundamentals. It doesn't really matter what the uniform is. So really the things that make jujitsu are going to be the same. Now at a 10th Planet, you're kind of rolling the dice on whether or not you're going to see the warm-ups that Eddie employs at his school. A lot of the schools are going to have that warm-up system as at least part of their curriculum. And if they don't have it as their regular classes, they're going to probably have it on the schedule somewhere during the week. So you may want to familiarize yourself with the warm-ups, maybe give them a call, see, do I need to practice this stuff before I roll in? But I guess the main difference for me in going to any 10th Planet is I just like the people, man. The
Yeah.
people are just laid back, and I never get the sensei vibe at any 10th Planet that I've ever been to. Not that there's anything wrong with the sensei vibe, you know, but there's not a lot of oosing and bowing to
Yeah.
pigs going down at any 10th Planet. And some people love that, dude. I got students here who wish we did that. Some guys love that stuff. They like the rigidity, they like the structure, but a lot of guys don't like that. And those guys tend to crowd up around a 10th Planet if they're into jujitsu.
Yeah. I like I don't need to bow to a picture of a dead guy. I'm all about lining up before after class, but maybe like, bowing to the dead guy probably could leave that part out. But
Well, we're probably not even going to line up. Like at my school, I just roll out there and start talking, but I'm always on time though.
that's number one, always on time.
Always professional.
Yeah,
Always
and
with the
since
shorty
obviously
shorts, but still professional.
you got to show the legs off with the shorty shorts. That's why I wear the
Exactly,
Craig Jones
bro. Have you
shorts.
seen these things?
Yeah, like come on. I'm not squatting for no reason. I got to show these bad boys off. The two schools, since obviously every 10th Planet school in the world, it's 10th Planet Bethlehem and 10th Planet Nazareth that are in like the Pennsylvania Easton area. I think John Thor Blank is at Bethlehem. So obviously, you know their entire class schedule. So just send me a DM and let me know exactly what I need to know.
Oh yeah, I got it all memorized.
You got it all memorized up there.
Yeah. I think Thor though is at. I think he's got his own. I can't remember what the name of his is. I think Nazareth is JM, and Bethlehem is Zach, and I think that's where Grace trains and Renee and all those guys. That's the big school there. And then JM is off, and he's got his own spot, and I'm pretty sure that's him at Nazareth. So that's a
Oh,
new
okay, cool.
location. But it's the
Yeah,
same
we
coach. He was one of the coaches forever at Bethlehem, and he's just out doing his own thing now.
Yeah, we're moving from where I am now over that way, and I want to try to mix in. Like they're right there. It'd be silly not to mix in, a couple open mats or a few classes a month over there.
Great. I love all those guys. You'll
Yeah.
get a lot of great training in. There's some really good people out of those camps, man.
Plus, I'll go from being a guy who pretends to be good at rubber guard to maybe I'll actually be good at rubber guard if I can hit a few classes.
No, I don't know. Can you pull your foot up to your shoulder real quick? Can you do that?
I do have the flex. I gotta help it with my hands, but I can get it up there. You know what I mean?
Man, you got this.
Yeah.
You got this. You're in the game.
When I was a blue belt, I saw that video of BJ Penn sitting on the mat and he scratches his ear with his foot without using his hands. You know the one I'm talking about? And ever since then, I was like, all right, this is the hips that I need for jiu-jitsu. This is the flexibility I need for jiu-jitsu. So I got the flexibility. It's just the technique.
No problem.
It's easy.
I just need the hard part now.
Yeah. I just need the thing that determines whether or not you can actually do the thing. That's all I need. I'll be good to go.
You're doing great, dude. Don't worry.
Well, Brendan, I appreciate you coming on with me. If anyone isn't following you or needs to know information about where they can be following you, can you just let everyone know all that stuff?
Just go to my Instagram and my YouTube, Brandon MC Ninja. That's it. That's all you need. I got a website where you can buy a bunch of courses and all of that. It's believe it or not, brandonmc.ninja. So try to keep it consistent,
I'll link to everything down in the description too. So if anyone doesn't want to have to type anything in, I'll try to save them a few clicks and they can just push on one button and get to you. But dude, I appreciate it so much. Thanks for taking the time and coming on with me for a little bit. I had a good time, and hopefully next time you see me, I'll be a rubber guard master.
I believe you. I think it's going to happen.
Big thank you to Brandon Mccaghren for coming on today. I really enjoyed talking to him. Please make sure you check out his Instagram, his YouTube, his website. I will put links to all of those in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.